Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of A Balanced Pack in the summer. We are coming to you live from Ottawa, Ontario, where it is very hot today. We have moved right into July weather and we're not even done May yet. So I thought I would talk about keeping cool and doing fun activities you can do with your dog to help keep everybody cool and happy and have a great time. Then let you sort of describe a little bit about what we do in the summer to keep cool when we're out with the dogs. Obviously, we're not doing it right now as we're home, but maybe some of these tips can help you and your furry little friends stay cool. First tip right off the bat is something that you guys can do yourselves is walk earlier or later in the day, earlier morning, later in the evening. Tends to be a lot cooler. Yes, it can be a bit buggier, but perhaps if it is cooler, short sleeves, hat, long pants, and that can be worn quite comfortably. So that's one kind of quick tip about walking that even when we are back in business, that you guys can do to help keep your dog exercised, not driving you crazy, but still get out there and not overheat. We also take water with us if we're not going to a place that has water readily available, like a creek or the river. Then we'll take water with us in plastic jugs and bowls and that kind of stuff so everybody stays hydrated. Tip about water, make sure it's not too cold because just like us, if your dog chugs a whole pile of cold water on a hot belly that's with a lot of panting going on, you're probably going to see it again. Dogs will vomit pretty readily when they chug a whole bunch of cold water, and it happens. It's not usually something to get too concerned about. So, don't worry too much if it does happen, but keep an eye on it just to make sure, because when they do vomit, dehydration can become a bit of a thing. So you want to make sure that they are staying hydrated. Sometimes when we're out with the dogs and the dogs are getting quite warm, what I'll do is I'll make them sort of ration out the water a little bit, not in terms of not giving it to them, but just giving it to them over a longer period of time. Because, when you're really thirsty, you grab a big glass of water and you want to chug the whole thing down, and ooh, that's not so good on the belly, even if it is room temperature. So you want to make sure that they're getting smaller sips more often, because that can help actually keep everything down and keep their bellies happy. So that's another good tip. You can do all kinds of indoor activities with your dog. You can teach them the names of their toys. If you've got a dog that likes to keep their brains busy, like some of the doodles and the poodles and the herding dogs and that kind of thing can be very easily taught to identify their different toys. One bit of note, dogs don't see the shades of reds and greens particularly well. They're more cued to yellows and blues. So if you're going by color, the dog's probably going to be identifying it by the scent and the shape and the texture more than, orange ball versus green tennis ball. Just to keep that in mind, because their perceptions are slightly different than the color vision that we have. The other thing you can teach them is the names of the people in their home. If you want to send your dog to go and get your kid or your significant other or the other dog in the house or the cat, that's definitely another thing that you can teach them, and they can learn that quite handily. A lot of them can. So, and it activates their brain, and it gives you guys a bonding opportunity too. Learning a new skill is always a good thing, and it teaches them, and they can bond with their pack more solidly by knowing the names of each one, and then they integrate that much more into their pack. Plus, it can be a lot of fun, especially if you have kids involved. Playing hide and seek, everybody hides, and the dog has to go and find them in the right order. You can have treats so that when they do find the appropriate person, they get the treats. So that can be a fun thing a fun thing to do with your dog inside in the heat of the day. Especially if you've got air conditioning going on or whatever, then that's a great way of having something interesting to do. I know some people have also taught their dogs how to help them sort the laundry. It's kind of a fun little random thing to do. You've got, socks, underwear, those types of things are fairly easy to carry if you don't mind if your dog carries it. Some people drape it, bigger shirts or stuff over the dog's back. They can carry socks and, in their mouth, and you tell them to take it to the person or take it to the bedroom. So that's another thing your dog can help you sort the laundry a little bit. It's not going to make your laundry sorting that much faster, but it's certainly going to make it much more fun. So, and because laundry isn't always the most fun and exciting thing to do, but you involve your dog in it, that can be kind of fun too. The other thing you can do with your dog, sort of inside or outside, is just hang out. Spend some time, chilling in your favorite anti-gravity chair or hammock, weeding your garden, your dog's out there with you, making sure that we all keep lots of fresh water on hand for both humans and canines alike. There's a nice shady spot. Obviously, if your dog is really thickly furred, you want to be careful about that. You just want to make sure that nobody overheats, humans or doggies alike. So keeping cool and just chilling out in togetherness is a really nice way of spending time with your dog. Especially a lot of us are spending a lot more time at home now because of this crazy virus thing that's going on. A lot of us are actually getting out gardening and doing that kind of stuff. So there's no reason your dog can't go out with you, especially if you've got an enclosed yard. If you don't have an enclosed yard, it's a great opportunity to teach your dog about staying in the yard. Not every dog can handle that, but it's a great opportunity to find out if your dog can. If you've never done it before, see about doing it. Start off with a long leash, either tied to you or staked in the ground somewhere. So somewhere where the dog has access to shade and water and you. Sometimes it's not always possible in really sunny locations. But there's another opportunity to do, to do some of your gardening, maybe later in the day or earlier in the morning if those parts of the garden are shaded. If they're not, then, leave your dog inside. That's another good thing, is a lot of us are spending more time at home. So maybe our pups are getting used to having us at home a lot more. So having time away from your dog so that your dog remembers how to do the alone thing, that's a good exercise too, to keep those skills going, keep them fresh, so that they don't get upset. Eventually we will probably be going back to work, myself included. So, having the ability for your dogs to be able to stay at home by themselves and not get too anxious or upset about things, that's another good thing. So another thing we can do to beat the heat is little treats. Some dogs really love ice cubes. Some people like to float an ice cube in their water. Again, make sure that you're not doing that right when the dog has been exercising. So if there's a lot of really heavy duty, bellows type panting where their sides are going in and out, you want to make sure that you're not adding too many ice cubes at that point. But they can play with them. They can, sort of munch on them. Not too many at a time, maybe one at a time. Some dogs just like to kick them around the floor. And if you don't mind a little bit of water on your floor and having to scoop up the ice cube as it melts later on, as long as you don't step on it, go flying like I do, that can be fun too. Some people get frozen berries. Some dogs really enjoy a frozen berry. Phoenix loves frozen berries, so strawberries, blueberries, that kind of thing. He's not a big fan of ice cubes. He likes to take it because he thinks it's food, and then he tastes it and he's like, oh, this is boring. So he doesn't want to eat it. So, I'll put them in his water for him now and again. And I think he's really quite indifferent about that. But sometimes it makes me feel better, which helps. So what else? You can freeze blobs of peanut butter. Small ice cube trays are really great, or small silicone molds. I have some downstairs that are all Muppets characters. It's all the monsters from Muppets, and they're about the size of a toonie in diameter. They're about that size, so it's a fairly small kind of thing. So you could put a blob of peanut butter in there. I always recommend for peanut butter, people go with the natural stuff, so no salt, no oils, no sugars added to it, just because the dogs don't need the sugar and the salt and the added oils and the emulsifiers and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I suppose we don't either, but they'll probably eat it just fine. Some dogs don't, and if all you have on hand is the stuff with the bears on the label, have at it. As long as you're doing it in moderation, your dog's gonna be just fine and probably enjoy the little treat. Frozen pumpkin, that's another option. Some people like myself, get pumpkins in the fall when people are disposing of them. I'll get the whole pumpkins, and I will I'll skin them and de-seed them and boil up the flesh of it, and then I put it in ice cube trays and whatever, which is maybe more maintenance or more work than some people want to do. The other thing you can do is get pumpkin filling. It's just pure pumpkin, not the pie filling. You want to get this because that often has spices and stuff in it, which can upset tummies. So just straight up pumpkin. And again, you can make little frozen ice cubes, little frozen blobs. And your dog can enjoy snacking on those. Be warned, there is a higher fiber content, so you want to be with the fruits as well. You want to be doing that in moderation, because adding too much fruits at once can cause a little tummy upset. So just be careful, and if you don't know how your dogs react, start off with a small amount, see what happens over the next 24 to 48 hours, and if all is well, then you're probably all right. Try a little bit bigger and you can try different types of things. And you'll know dogs have a relatively short digestive tract. Within 24 or 36 hours, you'll know if there's any kind of problems. So if you're getting any vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, that's sort of the things to look out for. And if you're getting any of those, then whatever it was that you gave them, probably not, or it was just too much. So you can try backing off the amount. That's why I suggest to people when they're trying different things with their dogs to just try one thing at a time, because if something happens, then in terms of constipation or diarrhea, you have no idea what it was that caused it. So keep an eye out for that. Speaking of bodily functions, sometimes diarrhea can be common in warmer weather. If it persists, make sure to check in with your vet, especially if there's lethargy and vomiting accompanied with it. That's the trifecta of call your vet. That's what the way I always think of it is, like, those are the magic three things. If all those things are happening, it's time to go to the vet. But as always, if you're ever concerned about your dog, I'm certainly not a substitute for medical advice. So if you're all concerned, your vet's a fantastic resource for lots of knowledge and help with your dog and support. So that said, we can do other things with our dogs. Watermelon. Some dogs really enjoy watermelon. You want to watch out for the rinds there, because again, they don't really digest them and don't chew them. So you want to watch out that they're not eating, big chunks of it, because you don't want to get things stuck, because that's never a pleasant thing. Not for the dog, not for you, certainly not for your pocketbook if you end up in an emergency hospital. So be careful with that. Make sure that the dog isn't just chowing down a bunch of it. But yeah, watermelon's quite delicious and digestible. Carrots and apples are also kind of a nice crunchy treat. A lot of people keep those things in their fridge so that the dog, when you're serving them, your dog's going to get a nice cool treat. So that can be kind of fun too. The advantage of doing things like carrots, beans, peas, that kind of thing, is that they're not adding a heck of a lot of calorie content to your dog's diet. You want to watch out for the fruits and higher fructose things like bananas and that kind of thing, because of two reasons. One, it does, there is there is a calorie content to it, so you're increasing your dog's food intake by that much. And if your dog's already kind of sedentary or is a small dog, you want to watch about the percentage that you're adding. And also for the sugar content, because if you have a dog like mine who is very yeasty, you don't want to be feeding an awful lot of things that have higher sugar content like berries and bananas, because the sugars will exacerbate the yeast condition, or at least it certainly can, especially, a digestive tract and that kind of thing. So it can upset the gut flora, just like us. If we eat too much candy, our belly starts to get a little bit. So dogs are kind of the same. When you start adding too many sugary things, and the yeast has a lot to feed off, and off it goes, and upset tummies and skin issues and all kinds of things can potentially happen. So if you want more information about that, certainly I'm happy to talk about what I know, but as always, your vet is the key source for that kind of medical knowledge. If you are going to go outside with your dog, consider getting one of those plastic play pools. They're relatively inexpensive. Fill it up with a hose, and you can play pretty happily in it. Some dogs not cool about it at all. Some of them just don't know how to get in and out. I know when we're out with the pack, the first time the dogs see the play pool, some of them have no clue what that is. They think it's a giant dog bowl. And so be it. It can be a giant dog bowl if they're drinking out of it. That can be great fun for them. And then some of them see their friends, jumping in and out and lying in it and whatever, and they kind of go, oh, okay. And they get the idea, and in they jump and out they jump. The other thing that I do with the dogs when we're out and they're not too sure is I encourage them to get in. Lots of praise, ask them to wait, and then get out and make a big deal out of it. So it becomes a game. And the more fun you can make it, the better it is, and the more they'll do it. So over the summers, I have taught many dogs to go in and out of the pool, and we've made it a game. And now they readily hop in and out all by themselves. Jump in, cool off, grab a drink, and off they go and play again. And I always make sure to empty the pool at the end of our play session. You don't want mosquitoes breeding. We have enough of those already. So sometimes I throw a little cup or 2 or 5 of apple cider vinegar in a pool if it's a bit bigger one. It helps to keep the yeast down so that the dogs being in and out of the water, it just helps keep them not so smelly. And apple cider vinegar is perfectly safe for them to drink. It's perfectly safe for them to be on the outside. You don't have to rinse it off, and it's a diluted enough amount that it's pretty light in terms of the smell. You're not going to smell a whole heck of a lot, and I find that it cuts the wet dog smell, especially after I've got 6 or 8 dogs and they're all been in and out of the pool, and if they're all wet in the back of my van, it can get awfully smelly in a hurry, especially in the heat. But if once I put the apple cider vinegar in the pool, no more dog smell, and it cut down a lot of sort of stinky dog stuff that are in the blankets and in the van and with each other. And I believe the clients appreciate that as well, so that when the dogs are home, they're not stinky, super stinky. So the other thing, if you want to go swimming with your dogs, a lot of dogs really enjoy swimming. There's a lot of sort of dog access beaches, places where you can get access to the river. Manotick has a fantastic park. I'm not sure if it's open at the moment under the current pandemic situation, but it's worth a try. It's called David Bartlett Park. It's on the island in Manotick. It's sort of the closest major intersection is Prince of Wales and Longfields, and you'll be able to find it sort of from there. Google it, you'll find it very easily. But it's right on the island in Manotick, so it has access to the river on both sides, both the back channel as well as the main channel. The back channel that has a sort of a gentle slope, and the water moves a lot slower. It's not as deep. It's kind of fun to sort of splash and play around. I find that the water on that side tends to be a bit warmer because it is more shallow, so it heats up a little bit more. On the other side of the island, for bigger dogs that like to swim, they maybe like to fetch things in the water. At this time of year, it's pretty clean because we're still we still don't have a lot of weeds. There's not a lot of heat in the water, so it doesn't tend to have a lot of bacterial growth and that kind of thing. So it tends to be quite safe. But they have some designated dog beaches in that park, and you can get in and out very easily. And dogs have a great time there. It's all gravel, by the beach, so you're not dealing with mud. It's they've done a nice job of fixing it up. So again, that's David Bartlett Park, out just north of Manotick, between Manotick and Barrhaven. So when you are out there walking around, if you are, in the woods or walking through fields or long grass and stuff, as always, when we go out, we always do a tick check. When we go out, we just want to make sure that we're trying to keep that down as much as possible. Your vet can advise you on sort of chemical repellents for ticks in terms of whatever pharmaceuticals are on the market, and talk to them, get your information, then you can make an informed decision about what you want to do for your dog. There are a variety of other kinds of different types of things, from diatomaceous earth to essential oil blends to anti-tick collars. So there's a variety of different ways to help prevent ticks from being attracted to you and your dog. I love an essential oil blend that I've come up with that helps. It's all made with dog compatible essential oils. And when we go out, I get a spray, and everybody gets a spray, making sure that we don't spray in their faces. So I'll often, spritz it on my hand and then pat them on the back of that. And it's a light spray. It's not a very heavy one, but it's enough so that when we're out, we can avoid the ticks. And also, when I come back to the van, I have one of those lint rollers, the kind with the sticky around it where you peel it off. So every dog gets a sheet, and I roll every dog, all their underneath, all dubbed up and down their legs. Ticks are pretty small and they're relatively slow moving, so oftentimes that's enough to just sort of dislodge them. And then each sheet, you can just throw it out, tie it in a poopy bag, and off you go. I'm not a big fan of the amount of waste that it generates, and I'm looking for alternative solutions, but as yet, that's the best solution that I've come up with. I did have one of those washable rollers, but I would have to have a fresh one for each dog in the group, because they're just, a lot of them generate just way too much hair, and one rolling of one dog is enough to fill it. So I've gone with the sticky rollers. But if anybody has another alternative or ways of disposing of that's a little more environmentally friendly, I would love to hear it in the comments below. So that's a little bit about how we keep cool, stay fun, and how we do things in the summer. If you have any comments or suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. But for now, this is Erin signing off. Have a great day, everybody. Stay cool.